If you're looking at ASX lithium development stocks, you've definitely come across Liontown Resources, the company we're going to be taking a look at today. They have a couple of projects which are starting to come online in the next few years that could really send this company soaring from a share price perspective and generate a lot of value for their holders. Today, we're going to be performing a fundamental overview of where the company is currently at, as well as a technical analysis of the chart to make some predictions on where we can expect to see Liontown Resources go in the near future. Let's take a look. How's it going, guys? Ryan here and welcome back to another investing video. Today we're looking at ASX listed stock Liontown Resources. Their ticker on the ASX is LTR, and this is certainly one of the most hyped lithium development stocks that there currently is at the moment, and of course for very good reason. This is a stock that I've followed for a number of years now, and I've seen them grow from a small market cap of 50 million all the way through to now being a multi-billion dollar organization, and they're not even producing lithium at this point in time. They have two key projects which we're going to take a bit of a look at. Their Kathleen Valley project and their Buldania project. These are both located in Western Australia. So without further ado, let's take a deep dive into the company itself and take a look at the numbers. To kick things off, as we stand right now, this company is worth roughly $2.70 per share, which gives them a valuation at this point of time of $6 billion roughly. That is a massive valuation for a company which isn't even producing at this point in time. Many people might actually say that Liontown is overvalued, but given their resource, this is an incredible company. And we've seen this as well through a recent takeover offer that we're going to go a bit more into later in today's video. But talking about some of the other numbers first, right now they have roughly about $300 million cash on hand and also roughly about the same amount in debt as well. So those two figures are sort of sitting there counteracting each other. What you'd expect to see from a company that is developing is that there will be some level of debt when they are building their facilities themselves. Of course, as well, having a strong cash position does enable them to do a lot and accelerate what they're doing. Let's take a bit of a look now at the individual projects themselves. Their main project, being their flagship project, is the Kathleen Valley Lithium Project. This contains a resource of 156 million tons at a rough value of 1.4% lithium oxide. Now, this is a massive amount of lithium. Obviously, we're talking hard rock in this sense, and they're aiming to develop and get this into production by mid-2024. So in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to investing, mid-2024 isn't actually that far away. In fact, it's only just about a year. So when we start seeing the movement towards this development turning into a production cycle, that's when the real value is unlocked with a lot of these organizations as they start generating revenue. Secondly, they have their Buldania project. This is a significantly smaller, but obviously a potential resource with 15 million tons at about 1%. So nowhere near the size at this point in time or the grades, but still in the scheme of things and given lithium demand, still a very good opportunity. Now, I'm expecting that likely they will end up developing this after Kathleen Valley starts producing, but it is possible that they might farm this project off to another company to get a bit more cash if required. It's always nice to have a card like that up your sleeve if you're a company that is trying to build things and needs capital and doesn't want to take on any more debt. I also forgot to mention as well that the top 20 shareholders cover roughly 55% of the entire holding on market. That is a massive amount considering where the value is at, and as well, we are going to see, of course, that value rise as things start to progress. As I mentioned previously, if you have been following the company, you would know that a takeover offer was actually just presented and rejected by Liontown Resources, which has resulted in a massive kick upwards of the value of this company from a share price perspective. What happened was Albemarle basically wanted to buy out the entirety of Liontown Resources at $2.50 per share, which shot up the value of the company very quickly to that point. Liontown Resources rejected their offer. And that meant that Albemarle still wanted a piece of the pie, and they actually increased their holding from 2.2% of the shares on issue all the way up to 4.3%. So they actually doubled their holding. They are a major lithium producer who has a strong interest, obviously, and a strong understanding of the demand for lithium and the lithium market overall. And they're trying to acquire other points of supply that they believe are high value. That for me signifies that Liontown Resources knows what they're doing. They know they have something good and they're not going to give it up. They're trying to generate as much value as possible for their shareholders, which is always solid. And you can see that once again from the 55% ownership of the top 20 holders holding firm and rejecting this offer. Now, there are a few main reasons why I believe that Liontown Resources is certainly a good investment from my personal perspective. The first of which is it is the 5th largest hard rock lithium stock on the ASX at the moment. This positions them very well from not only a size perspective, but of course also a grade perspective as well, as we already know. Secondly, they have a tier 1 jurisdiction being located in Western Australia, where the government and other organisations are actively assisting these companies in getting online, and it has a history for mining projects. WA is a major hub for mining projects, oil and gas, minerals and resources in general, so it is a fantastic area for them to develop Kathleen Valley and then Baldania down the line as well. Coming in third, they have a strong cash position, and they are also exploring other funding options as well, which means they might not have to burn all the cash they have there at the moment in order to get the facility into production. It's always promising to see when a company does have a strong cash position, but then also, of course, is investigating other options for funding. Now, I don't expect this to be in the form of a raise unless it's a cornerstone investor. Maybe Albemarle, for instance, will invest more money, but instead I'm hoping that we do see some sort of a debt refinancing just to reduce the tick on those debt levels, or explore additional debt funding options as well, maybe even government grants that could assist in progressing the Kathleen Valley project to getting into production in 2024. Of course, overall as well, the lithium market does appear to be picking back up, especially when we look at the numbers coming out of China at the moment. So I think Liontown Resources is positioned very well moving into the future. Now, what we're going to do is take a look at the chart. We're going to be performing some technical analysis and trying to make some predictions where we can expect to see Liontown Resources go in the near future. Let's take a look. Welcome into the Liontown Resources chart, guy. As you can see, a very impressive chart from a long-term perspective. But firstly, let's zoom in on some of the recent price action. Right now we can see that Liontown Resources is sitting at $2.73. They did hit an all-time high at $3.02 across a period of 2 days on the 12th of May and the 15th of May, which is impressive. And as you can see, there was a big jump over here, which was as a result of the Albemarle offer coming in. Prior to that, they were sitting at about $1.50, and then they shifted all the way up in the span of 1 day to a high, which was at $2.57. So pretty incredible right there, just the jump that this caused. And the momentum did continue, as we can see, to that recent all-time high. So very good. You can see the indicators straight off the bat went crazy as well, with the 20 and the 50-day moving averages crossing back above the long-term 200-day moving average here, indicating that the momentum has certainly shifted in an upwards direction. This probably came at a fantastic time when we were in a little bit of a downtrend, as you can see over here. That was breached and we moved straight upwards very quickly. I was expecting though to see some sort of a breakout occur anyway, given that we were traveling along this sort of fashion previously in a wedge type formation. But if we do zoom out and look at it on a bit more of a macro level, what you will notice is there was already a strong uptrend in place. As you can see here, I'm going to put the line or the long-term uptrend on the chart, which tracks all the way back down to over roughly about here is when it started in April of 2021, and we've been moving upwards ever since overall, which is really good. And that movement towards that line, of course, was going to be critical depending on the price action, but now because of the fundamentals we've moved upwards. You can see the volume as well went absolutely insane on that day and has reduced since. I would expect to see a few people actually starting to sell off a bit as we do start to move. Now, first thing I want to point out before we look at some other indicators is I want you guys to be conscious when we're looking at this chart. What we could see is a bit of a head and shoulders pattern form. You can see we've got one shoulder form here, a head, and now we're moving down. What we need to see is an upwards move like this. If we don't see this, what we're going to see is a possible shoulder form again, and then that would indicate actually a reversal in the trend. Right now we're sitting below that point right here, which is our 20-day moving average. This is the point, in my opinion, that will determine whether or not we are going to see a jump upwards or a jump downwards. If we can exceed that point, break through to the 20-day moving average again, I'm expecting to see this stock continue moving upwards. I'm going to suggest that we'll probably start moving in a direction maybe a bit like this, possibly a bit steeper if you want to make it a bit more hollowed out, bit like that, and start hopefully moving upwards. Medium case, moving sideways, but hopefully not. A bit of consolidation is starting to occur, a bit of profit taking is starting to occur, as you would expect to see when there has been such a big increase. Also, a gap has formed here, a very big gap. That gap starts over here at the high of the day of the 27th of March. That high was $1.55. Then the following day, the low was sitting at $2, so a massive gap. Will that close or not? I'm not too sure. If we see the head and shoulders pattern occur, it is a strong possibility that the share price may drop down. So just be careful when you are looking at this stock from a charting point of view. Let's have a look at the relative strength index, which will probably be crazy. As you can see, it certainly is. We went into that overbought range very quickly as a result of that offer from Albemarle. Right now though, we have moved downwards, sitting at 51.32. So we're basically all the way back to the middle, which means the momentum can start to shift back upwards again like that, and we can see a trend possibly start to form, which would be ideal, of course. Let's also take a look at the MACD. Now this is a bit more short term, so hopefully this gives us a bit of an indication. You can see that red period coincides with what we were seeing on the RSI. We did nearly see another green period form, but the red period unfortunately did continue, as we didn't see that 12-day EMA cross back above the 26-day EMA. They're both moving in a downwards direction parallel at this point in time. If we are to see a reversal in the price from the past 7 days of action, what we need to see is that 12-day EMA cross back above the 26-day EMA. Until something like that occurs, I'd be relatively hesitant to buy in the very short term, purely given the fact that we've seen such a big jump, possible sellers coming in, and right now we're sitting probably at a critical point where a head and shoulders pattern could be forming and we could see a reversal in the price. Overall, what is my prediction right now? Well, if we do see some big announcements come out, which is of course possible with companies like this, we will see a movement upwards, and I would suspect it would be pretty gradual like this, given that the price action has been nuts recently. Worst case scenario though, this gap could certainly close. I hope it doesn't close and I hope we keep moving upwards, but it is the worst case possibility. Now, before we actually get to that gap itself though, we do have a horizontal point of support over here. And you can see it starts from a previous high across another previous high, and that is at roughly $2.19, $2.20. That will be an indicator for me as to whether LTR is going to close the gap. If this point is breached at any point, then we are likely going to see the gap close. If we see a bounce off this point, I'm expecting then we're going to see sort of some random consolidation price action, maybe a bit like that occur. Ideally, I'd like to say this stock will continue upwards, but I'm very, very wary at this point in time that the price action has just been so crazy that this may not occur as much as we'd like. I'd suggest though, because of Albemarle's offer, the lowest point we're probably going to hit is around that $2.50 mark, which is what they offered. So don't be shocked if you do see that come in the near future. In my opinion, that is likely going to be the case, and we're going to see a movement down here before a bounce in an upwards direction. That wraps up today's analysis of Liontown Resources, guys. I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments section below on where you think Liontown Resources will be when they enter production. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you do leave a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of this sort of content, hit subscribe and turn on those bell notifications. I'll leave it there for today, guys. I hope you have an awesome day. I'll see you next time. Cheers.